Ladies and gentlemen, weebs and waifus, welcome to Kill World here on YouTube. And today I will be covering my favorite Western animation series out right now, and that is none other than Invincible. Invincible just premiered season 3 with the first 3 episodes on Amazon Prime, and the major theme that I feel will be explored throughout this season is what truly makes a hero, nature or nurture. But of course, before we get into the review of the season premiere, if you haven't yet, please make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notifications bell to alert you of new videos when they get posted to the channel. I would greatly appreciate the support. Now, without further ado, Invincible Season 3. Let's talk about it. Let me preface by saying this. If you were worried that Season 3 of the show will lose its edge that made it so great in the first place, you needn't worry about that. Trust me, I was a little worried myself with there being such a long break between the first 2 seasons, and then the second season was split into 2. As an avid fan of anime and animated projects, I know there are signs that frighten us when enjoying an animated project, but the fact that Season 3 will not have a mid-season break, and that Season 4 has already started production with Omni-Man J.K. Simmons already announcing he has started recording lines for Season 4, and that makes me very optimistic and happy as a fan of the series. Part 1. It's time to train the baby. If you remember, during the second season, Debbie took in Mark's baby half-brother Oliver. I have to give props to Debbie for doing this. Not only is she raising the child her husband fathered with another woman, but she is raising an alien. There is no human part to this kid. He's bright purple, and he could have turned into anything. She's a stronger woman than most for that one. We also get an opportunity to see nature versus nurture in action. We have sort of seen that with Mark over the first 2 seasons, but Oliver is just a kid when he gets his powers, and we get to see how Debbie and Mark's influences can help an alien life form have some humanity. After all, we have no idea what his mother's people were actually like, except that they were insect-like and aged extremely quickly. While Oliver ages slower than his mother's people, he still ages faster than humans. We open Invincible Season 3 with him now looking like he's around 8 or 9 years old, rather than less than a year old. Seeing how different alien races behave makes the Invincible universe feel more believable and coherent in my opinion. There is a lot going on around the solar system. I also adore seeing Mark step up as an older brother. He relates to his little brother and what it was like being that age and excited about being a superhero. All he wanted was his powers, and now he sees that it was probably a good thing that he didn't get them until much later. Remember, even though Mark was much older when he got his powers, it was still early for him when he did get them. There are also some beautiful moments that connect to the good times Mark had with his father. Omni-Man was the bad guy, and that didn't stop him from being a father to Mark. And before we found out what Omni-Man was doing, he was being a good dad when it came to training him. Seeing Mark have some fun with that warmed my heart. While Oliver is part Thraxan, he is also part Viltrumite, and it's this side that could take over everything. Mark questions Oliver having no empathy for the lives that he has taken, but is that because he is predisposed to being evil, or is he just a kid who's learning about right and wrong? Can Mark and Debbie influence help change who Oliver becomes? Can they explain the importance of human life? I tend to be more optimistic than others, but I'm sure we will find out. These are hard-hitting questions for Mark, who's dealing with the guilt of killing Angstrom Levy. Part 2. Invincible? I don't care, I ship them. Now look, I liked Mark and Amber together. There were times when I found Amber to be less than understanding than she could have been, and yes, there were also times when Mark could have gone about things a different way as well, but there was nothing wrong with their relationship. But Amber couldn't really deal with the way Mark was always off saving the world. There was nothing wrong with Amber feeling like she was always second place and not being happy about that. Them breaking up was right for both of them. They each need someone who will understand them and meet their needs, and that's okay. So it wasn't surprising to find out that Mark is interested in Adam Eve and vice versa. Let's be real, those feelings for each other have been there since Eve and Rex were still together. This wasn't just because of Mark getting a visit from Eve's older self from another world. While that did get the ball rolling, Mark realized that he loved Eve for who she is in this world. There's always been something there. My favorite part of Eve and Mark figuring things out was Eve being mad at her older self in the other universe. How could she spend decades being bitter that Mark didn't say anything to her? I think we would all look at our future selves and judge them in some way. Eve's thoughts are so incredibly human, and I love that. And for once, she isn't putting off a relationship because of Mark realizing he liked her. Yes, there's the initial question, but Mark isn't the one she's mad at. Then there's Eve telling Amber about her and Mark. This needed to happen, and I'm glad that it happened. I hate drama for the sake of drama, which a lot of TV shows bring us nowadays. We would usually have this long, drawn-out storyline of Mark and Eve trying to hide the relationship from Amber, but it wouldn't make sense and it would be completely unnecessary. It's not like Mark left Amber for Eve. He didn't cheat on her. Mark and Amber just weren't suited for each other, and they were both mutually agreed upon on that. Having Eve tell Amber about her and Mark, and then Amber accept that and share that she's also dating someone is pretty mature and grown up if you ask me. Thank you, Invincible, for avoiding the trope. Part 3. You can be the good guy, or you can be the guy that saves the world. Not both. Fellow watchers of Invincible, I ask you this. Have we ever really trusted Cecil 100%? When he found out that Omni-Man was a villain, he did not say a thing to Debbie and Mark. He could have warned them, but Debbie had to figure it out all for herself. Cecil has treated people to keep them alive without their consent, slowly taking pieces away from them. Invincible Season 3 finally explains some of his backstory. Now, I mean, we learned so much within the space of an episode. We learn about what happened to Cecil's face, keeping the scarred flesh as a reminder of a past traumatic event, and how he took over the GDA. I don't think there was anything unique or special about the storyline, but that's okay. We don't need something big and flashy for every single backstory. Although I will say thank you to the sweet backstory we got for the 2 bank robbers at the start of episode 3. That reminds us that villains are sometimes made from their circumstances, as well as by their own actions. Back to my guy Cecil. He is not the good guy by any means. While he's not fully the villain, he isn't a hero, and I don't think he ever has been. This is a guy who is doing what he believes is right for planet Earth, period. He wants to protect against any sort of villainous threat, and if that means getting rid of Mark, then so be it, at least in his eyes. Now, there are some who stand by him. The Immortal and Duplicate are perfectly fine following Cecil. Shapesmith decides that he owes so much to Cecil that he can't betray him, reminding us that some people gain power because they make people feel like they owe good. Shapesmith can be grateful, but also admit that Cecil isn't the one to follow if he wants. I will defend Black Samson for staying with the Guardians of the Globe after they learn about Mark and Cecil's fight, but only if he goes through with what he wants. He says that he will stay because he can't change things from the outside, which is probably the truth. Maybe if the rest of the Guardians wanted to change things from the inside, it could work. It's hard when he's on his own, but he has a good heart. It's in the right place. Mark and Eve clearly can't stand by Cecil after he tries to control Mark. Rudy, Monster Girl, Rex, and others join them as they walk away from the Guardians of the Globe. There's already been a showdown between Kate's brother, Multipol, and Rex, with Mark helping Rex. We're sure to see more of these kinds of clashes, leading to a lot of questions about who the good guys and the bad guys really are. Invincible has done an excellent job of making us question what we know and how we feel about superheroes. Everyone seems to want the same thing, but they all want to go about it in different ways. We're predisposed to viewing Mark and Eve's side as being the good one, but what if they're not? Maybe there are no good guys and bad guys, but it's all about point of view. I'm here for the ambiguity and grayness though. One thing I'm not convinced about just yet is Mark's costume change. I guess I just didn't see the reason for it. I like the colors alright, but I don't know, there was just something iconic about that first suit. Also, poor Oliver needs to figure out a new name though, because Omniboy is not gonna work. He doesn't view his dad as the villain, and maybe he isn't, with the humanity that is seeping into him, but so many others do. Invincible Season 3 continues the heartfelt storylines and character growth the show is known for. We don't just see these superheroes as superheroes. They are humans first, and this 3rd season follows them as several mature from teens into adults. They want lives while also saving the world. Debbie also grows a lot. She has learned what secrets do in relationships, and she doesn't want that with her new boyfriend. Can he be trusted? Well, he hasn't done anything to hurt his stance right now, but we will see if that holds up. I'm on the fence, but I adore that Debbie said, you know what, screw it, and shared her family secret. I do wish she had the conversation with Mark and Oliver about it first though, considering it affects them as well. Overall, I feel like Season 3 of Invincible is off to a great start, with all of the characters growing and evolving in their own unique ways. It will be interesting to see how the season unfolds. If you have made it to this point in the video, a huge arigato to you, and if you are new to the channel, please once again make sure to subscribe to the channel. It would be greatly appreciated. And if you have seen Invincible, let me know in the comments, what do you think actually makes a true hero in your opinion? Is it nature or is it nurture? I love hearing from you guys. And in the meantime and in between time, sayonara.